Hey guys, it's Steve. So wanted to cover today some of the tools because we're getting a lot of new new to us existing wholesalers that are starting the JV and Connect. So I wanted to cover some of the tools we have on this, and these are good for you guys as well. And kind of wanted to cover some advancements we've made over the last couple of days. The first thing is we have an AI auto dialer set up, and we have more batch leads accounts, not separate accounts, to be clear. These are sub accounts under our account. We're allowed like 8. So if you ever have trouble getting into batch leads to do things like access comps or dialing, let us know. We have 8 accounts. So we're setting up 8 generic usernames and passwords. If you're really going to be using it a lot, like if you're full time in this, let me know. I'll dedicate one of them to you. But if you ever have trouble getting into batch leads, don't just sit and say, oh, gee, well, call me. The point is, if you're working exclusively with us on a national level, obviously focusing in the areas, but you're not working with other people, I'll be perfectly honest. If you are working with other people, that's wonderful. But the tools we're paying for, I want to keep to the guys that are exclusively with us. Talk to me about that. We can work out details. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but at the same time, I'm trying to protect myself. But we have lots of passwords into batch leads. So we can have up to 8 people using the account at once. Same thing with Land OS. If you want to do land, no one's stepped up yet, but step into it. Let's talk. Self-storage, let's talk. We have lots of the tools are set up. We've also launched, or are launching, I guess is more of a thing, but it's not far from ready. In chat, and I'll be honest, guys, that I use ChatGPT a lot, but I am actually an enemy of AI. It's a necessary evil. By that I mean its resource usage is absurd. The amount of water and electricity and general stuff it wastes, but reality is it's just part of the competition game at this point. We have developed our own AI group. We have like 3 or 4 of these under development. This is wholesale flip pricing. So within this tool, you'll just come in here and we're changing how it introduces itself because it just kind of sits there and waits. But you simply ask it, what does it need? And you provide it as many of the answers. Literally, you could also just cut and paste the answers to the form. And this is going to become part of the research you do to put into the form. One of the form fields is going to be, what does the Chat GPT say about this deal? And you'll take the result of this and you'll plug it back into that. And we'll say, now I'm just going to use this second ChatGPT window to create results for the first ChatGPT window. Now, we always want to make sure, because ChatGPT is brilliant, but it's dumb. So literally all I asked it here was to create a fictional property. And So ChatGPT is dumb. You always want to start with instructing it to also use. It's in its code, but it forgets this. ChatGPT is just brilliant but dumb. So you want it to use any research tools it has available to it, public, private, and the like. So we might be starting with this. We might be starting with full details on a property. So you're giving it something like this, giving an address, low ARV, high ARV, estimated rehab, seller asking price. And it's also important because GPT tends to take shortcuts. I am always telling chat, don't give me short versions, give me the full detail. Don't give me abbreviations. It's like it's a wonderful tool, but I'm still learning the prompting. It's struggling. I'm struggling. So you'll see I added here, don't let the seller's request color the result. And you'll see I have self-storage ones over here as well. So now it's analyzing it takes the 70% buyer budget, takes the rehab, takes property taxes. I have these assumptions built in. You can correct these assumptions. If your input included them, it would ride with those. So it's saying that the ARV, 70%. So the first thing it's doing is it's taking a 40 percentile range of here, a little below half, 380 to 420. Obviously, the split is 400. It's going slightly under that. It's then going 70%, boom. Rehab, blah, 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 blah. Wholesale fee 10,000, 76. So it's saying 201. Now, this is not, you don't go back to the seller with this. This is input for our conversations. So this actually will require conversation, but it's not like we came to 100,000 and he came to 200,000. We're in, pissing distance with each other. And then you can and I'm working on connecting it to batch leads. That's why I keep mentioning batch leads. I haven't done that yet, but I'm working on connecting it. Now, also, I'm watching it when it's doing that, and it said, doing the job without real address. Well, it has a real address. This is what I mean about chat is brilliant but stupid. Now, one of the mistakes I'm making here is when you chat, I'm just learning this now, and I'm learning how to get around it. I don't quite understand, but I'm asking it to tweak its answer. And one of my friends who does a lot more AI than I do, he's like, no. You tweak your prompt, your original prompt, you change your original prompt with the tweak and say rerun based on this instruction, the entire thing. that it gets inaccurate when you just try to you think, oh, let me change this line, because like I have it write a letter and then I say, well, change that last line, and all of a sudden the letter is completely different. I was like, no, I didn't ask you to change the entire document. I asked you to change that line. So you're better off having it rerun. But now it's giving us more details, city data. And you're going to, when you finally, and we'll have these prompts dialed in. You won't be guessing on this. I'll have a directory of prompts and you can just kind of use them, whatever. But this gives us a pretty complete and with a certain prompt, we can also go back with, we will soon be able to do seller finance options, whatever. We're working on a second GPT that's all about rental property, small scale multifamily, and mixed use. So we're bringing more tools to the forefront here. And I think that hopefully you guys were watching that. I didn't mean to leave you out in the cold.
Indeed. I was watching it.
All right, cool. I gotta make a whatever you call it. I gotta make it a sort of auto entry for team members. Okay, so we are launching GPTs. Now that I'm back with you guys, any questions, any inputs, any new deals, anything?
Were you just explaining how to do the prompts in chat?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I actually am developing. I'm still tweaking it, but an actual Chat GPT of our own. Like I could give you this as a direct link, and it will. I'm not ready to. I mean, I'll let you play with it, but I'm not ready to release it quite yet. But this link is our permanent link, and you come to this and you give it a real property, basically what you put into the form, and it will run a valuation on the property. This is not a valuation you go running back to the seller with, but this is one more piece of information when we're discussing a property. And now here, Alex, whoever the Newark deal, I want to do the Newark deal today and get her both talk to the seller as well as the wholesaler. One of the things with the wholesaler is any wholesaler we meet, we want to try to convert them to a team member here. You guys get 5% off every deal that comes through from them. So there's sort of a downline revenue thing going on. Even if they're not, this is what I was saying earlier in the call. I think you weren't on yet. If you're exclusive with us, like Nair, Alex, you guys everything's with us. Great. We'll give you all the tools. If they're a third-party wholesaler, they just want to do some pieces with us. Great. We're still happy to be their back office. We just don't necessarily give them all our passwords. We connect with them where they need the help. But definitely we're open to working with wholesalers. So what this is you give it what comes in the form and you run it, and it will run. And I'm working on how to give you guys the prompts. I'm still playing with the prompt play, but it'll do things like city data. It'll do it will eventually connect with batch leads. So you've already run batch leads on it, and that's how you're giving it everything you have on the form. You're giving it all the property information. You're giving it the Chat GPT, or that batch lead says 380 to 420. You're giving it what you think. You're giving it what the seller wants. You're giving it the Zillow information. You're giving it whatever you can pull together. And then it's taking that and going through its little thing, and it's looking at city data, and it's looking eventually at batch leads. It's looking at Zillow, and it's rethinking everything. And then it's coming out and it's doing even to the point of, and it's coming up and saying, okay, so let me scroll up here a little bit. It's kind of more cleanly done. And this is what I mean about every time you rerun it, it'll come out with 80% correct. You'll tweak something, and now it's answered your new question, but it's only 70% correct on the first part. Like it is correct, but it drifts. But here it says, okay, ARV range 380 to 420. So middle is 400. I told it go 40th percentile, go a little low middle, 396, 70% of 396, 277, wholesale fee, and all of your other expenses, blah, 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 rehab, taxes, wholesale, it's coming up and saying, we want to make an offer of 201 on this property, on this hypothetical property. So we get it for 201, flipper buys it from us for 210. Obviously, we can tell it whatever wholesale fee we think is appropriate. And then blah, 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 wholesale it, or flipper, end guy around the bottom of the chain is now at 70% when he's bought, fixed, and done. So we can, when we're marketing property, say, hey, here's why. Don't give them necessarily like too much of this, but give them, hey, listen, here's your ARV range. Here's 40th percentile. Here's 70%. Here's what we think your rehab needs to be. Here's what your carrying costs probably are. Boom. We don't necessarily put that in the ad. But somebody says, where the hell did you come up with 201? Here's where I came up with 201. You come up with whatever your offer is, but here's where we came up with it. So this is one more piece basically to go into to when you and Ryan and I are discussing the deal and saying, hey, here's one more piece for how to do it. Here's one more piece for information. One more piece of information, I guess, the easiest way to put that.
Gotcha.
And then I'm gonna have one for analyzing rental property. And there's gonna be two for that. There's gonna be small rental and big rental, up to 10 units and above 10 units, or up to 5, up to 10, and then above 10. And that's meaning all about up to 5 is all about comparable sales. We're glancing at rentals. We're making sure it works as a rental, but the comps, the realtor transacting is going to care about comps. 5 to 10, they care a little more about income valuation than they do comps, meaning sale numbers. Above 10, the sale numbers are based on income. When you buy Trump Tower, okay, you're buying it based on sold values, but all the sold values are based on profit. It's the acreage change is less of a change than 45 penthouses instead of 25 penthouses. So we're developing more GPTs for different categories. And of course, we have the land product as well for anybody that wants to dive deeper into that. So that's what these tools are all about. Is they're just one more piece of our pie for you to plug, for you to collect and whatever, and for us to use or whatever. That gives us a little more logic. Then, and this is the important part, my wholesale. So these down here are self-storage GPTs developed by my self-storage mentors. And Jack, who developed these, made a good. His whole thing is he's like, look, guys, don't use the GPT and call it a day. Use the GPT, take the GPT's answer, and say, this is how I'm running my business. No. Always do the long division. Put it in the form, put it in the spreadsheet, run it through, manually do it. He's like, the GPT tells you, is it worth manually doing? Then you manually do it. So all you're doing with this GPT, it's a piece of the pie. We now see, okay, here's the batch leads info, It's one more rock in the pile. Partially because GPTs can screw up, but also partially because if you're not manually doing it, you're not learning anything. And to err is human, but to completely fuck things up requires a computer. And whatever. So that's what this tool and the other tools are all about. And then we also are launching, or as well as you guys calling calls, but we're also going to start calling with an AI dialer. It's totally separate, totally unconnected. And then when the AI dialer gets somebody, it'll go into a pool, and you guys can grab those as well, and then kind of pick them up from there and do more data collecting or whatever. The AI dialer is actually
like it answers and then puts it in a queue, and then we'll
so
pick it up. Okay.
Yeah. So and the mechanics of it I have not nailed down yet, but let me open up the YouTube and I'll kind of play this one now. So it's a little bit more apparently on this demo. I'm not using an actual phone to call, or it's not calling an actual phone. It's kind of doing it internally. Apparently, the lags are supposedly a little worse. I hope they are, because they're not bad, but they're not phenomenal. But like this is all right. So let me just take this. Okay, so that's obviously. Oh, okay. So I'm not even on the right. I'm on today's video instead of yesterday's video. Okay, like why am I hearing myself again? So I'm going to add the screen to the stage again. You know what? I'm going to remove completely actually because I want to stop screen entirely. Because I want to make sure I actually, because you won't hear this if I don't share the screen audio. And I'm going to mute myself. Okay, I'm going to try it one more time for the audio recording. Hello.
Hi, this is Reba with Neighborhood. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say that again?
Hello.
Hi, this is Reba with Neighborhood Cash Buyers based in Kingston. Before we continue, may I record this call for accuracy?
Yep.
Great, thanks. Do you have a minute?
Yep.
Perfect. I'm calling about a place you own. Have you ever thought about selling?
Maybe, yeah.
Cool. We're buying a few properties this year and reaching out to owners directly. If it's okay, I'd like to ask a few quick questions to understand the property better.
Yeah, definitely. That's fine.
Great, thanks. Is this a single family, multifamily, or something else? And do you live there, rent it out, or is it vacant?
Single family, I do rent it out.
Got it. About how many bedrooms and bathrooms does it have, and how would you...
I mean, it certainly sounds real enough. It doesn't sound too robotic.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and apparently we can tweak it, we can play with it, and it's never going to be as good as an actual person. But so then what happens? So you guys are still the front lines. You guys, this is not replacing anybody.
Right.
But you know, but then when this thing stores it, and this is the part like I know we're going to do it, I don't know how. When it says, "Here's my transcript, here's my whatever," we're going to put those into a pool, and you guys are going to grab them because it's not in our CRM. It's not filling out our form for potential legal liability reasons. I'm keeping a wall because these are cold calls, and that's why you're calling on batch leads. You're not calling in the CRM. So if somebody gets really pissy, it stops at batch leads. It doesn't come home to our main CRM. But effectively, these will end up in a bucket, and you guys will go and pull the fish out of the bucket, put it into the form, do the rest of the research, you know, yada yada. Now probably use the GPT. Now what's cool is I found it. I mean, I kind of programmed it. I didn't really find it, but and interestingly enough, I'm using Chat GPT to teach me how to program this AI, which is, again, like I said, I don't like AI, but it's whatever. How do I put this? So what's cool is it actually dynamically does, in theory, what you guys are doing is, hey, it's a multifamily. Well, once it's a multifamily, and I wanted to cover this today as well, once it's a multifamily, there's another set of questions that aren't actually in the form, and I probably need to, you know, train you guys on them. But also, which go into income, expenses, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, who pays what utilities, questions like that. Questions which get into the economics of the property. You know, okay, which apartments are electric heat versus which apartments are furnaces versus, and that kind of stuff. And just, you know, and when you're doing these calls, if it switches to that, think on the fly. Hey, gee, what else? And we have a question set for it now. But hey, what else would I want to know about a rental? Because one of the most important things with multis or any kind of rental property, but especially with multis, is who pays what what kinds of heating sources, how many furnaces, how many electric panels, how many electric meters, who pays what utilities. I've seen buildings where there's 9 electric meters, and yet for whatever reason, the owner still pays all 9 electric bills. The units are separate, but over the years, this is kind of how it ended up being. Okay, that tells me 2 things. One is their expenses are freaking huge. And 2 is I can easily dump those expenses because there's 9 electric meters. If there was only 1 electric meter and he's paying the electric bill, well, now I've got 9 services I have to install. And again, this is not something you guys are thinking through, but these are why the questions exist. Well and septic. It sounds great that well and septic means no water and sewer bills. That is true. Well and septic now mean 2 things. The owner has we have a question of those being safe and functional and legal when we buy them. They can break. Septic can cave in. They can be no longer compliant because sometimes they're not septics, they're cisterns, which are basically holes in the ground. Or worse yet, a mine, but that's a different story. But it also means larger repair costs. And in the case of well, it means that you're responsible for the safety of the potable water on the property. Potable is drinkable. Okay, I had a friend, he's passed now, but he and a partner bought a mobile home park, and he trusted his partner. He never looked over anything. Guy was much smarter than that, but whatever, you make mistakes. And nobody ever tested the water on the mobile home park. Come to find out, there was an existing DEP problem with the water on that mobile home park. And one of the reasons the seller was selling was because Congress people were calling him because he hadn't dealt with the DEP issue, yada, 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 which means they didn't do any of the due diligence properly. And maybe I'm not saying that I would have known all the due diligence, but a water test would have been my first due diligence. And he ended up spending like an extra $150,000, or something, putting in,
Jesus.
cases or whatever. Basically, I just bought a property that's three units with a well. Well, have that well tested once a year. I don't suspect where it's located that I'm ever going to have a problem. It's next to a mountain, yada yada. But still, once a year, I'm going to be able to say, okay, staple it to the wall. All right, you know what, guys? Somebody might get sick from the water, but it's not because I didn't check up on it every once in a while.
So now, are wells considered like naturally a thing when you're talking about water? Because doesn't it come from a natural?
So yeah,
source?
so basically, so really, there's 3 kinds of water sources. There's well, there's community, and there's public. So
Okay.
community meaning some HOAs, you don't pay the water bill or mobile home park's a great example. Wherever they get their water from, well or public, the owner, the unit, the condo, the mobile home, just
Of the
gets it
park?
from the community. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So like in a lot of places they didn't put in 100, even if it was even if there's public water at the street where the facility starts, they didn't put in 100 water meters, and the water company didn't come in and drop lines to every house. The community pays a big ass water bill up front, and each little house just gets water or whatever. So in either case, community or not community, you still boil down to 2 choices. The community either has wells, or the house either has a well, or it has public. Public is, you pay a bill, which sucks, but the institution of the water company is always testing the water, and they're responsible, for the most of the underground pipes. There's a point at which you're not. Like generally in Pennsylvania, from the street to your house, that's your water line. That breaks, you're fucked. You deal with it. But wells are definitely natural. Now, here's the problem with a well. Well pumps can die. Your people can wake up in the morning and there's no water because the pump down on the ground crapped out. Now you got to go hire a well guy to pull the pump up and put the pump down, and whatever the heck they do, they make the water run again. Or wells can run dry, meaning for whatever reason the water table changes and there ain't nothing to pump. It's just not there. Or it's not enough that's there. Or they can have poisons. They can have, or maybe not even have poisons. They can have too much sulfur, too much salt, too much this, too much that. And you may purify it, or you may simply say to your tenants, hey, the water has this in it. If you want a purification, there's games to that. But the point is, when it's a well, it's your problem. I mean, that's really what it means. If you're a landlord with a well,
okay, got you.
And if you're buying a house with a well, and I'm just going to check because there's something unrelated. I just want to make sure I check today but if you're buying a house with a well, I'm doing a closing that's involving something coming back from my bank, so I just always need to check every day, make sure it came back. Yeah. So if you're buying a house with a well, buying a property with a well, or a septic, you run into the same problems with septics. You run the same problems with septics in terms of, has the septic no longer done septic things? Like if you lift the lid on a septic, somewhere in your yard there's a lid, and that thing's full, your septic has a problem because it's no longer leaching out into the dirt the way it's supposed to. It's clogged, it's broken, the leach field has gone bad, blah, 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 something. And that's very weird that hasn't gone through yet. Okay, that's interesting. So you've got the well, the septic isn't working right. I did a flip in Jersey where we didn't change the house at all. We did a heavy paint and carpet. We updated some kitchens and bathrooms and made it prettier, but we didn't change number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms. We changed nothing. And we're all done with the flip. And the local code officer came over at the end after we'd worked with him for months. So where's the new septic system? I said, what new septic system? He's like, you did all this work. I said, the house was a 4-bedroom, was a 4-bedroom. He's like, in our rules, he never mentioned this up ahead when we had these conversations with him. You do over $10,000 work to a house, you need a new septic system. So then we're stuck with an additional $40,000 bill.
What?
So whenever the words well or septic or cistern or not public come up, now all we do as wholesalers is we inform the buyer. But that's why these questions are critical. Because then the buyer something in their head should turn on and say, I need to A, have it tested, and B, I need to call the municipality and say, hey, I'm doing XYZ with this property with well and septic, or well and public, or public water and sewage and septic. Whatever it is, I've got this going on. I've got one of them is private. And ding, 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 ding. And also when it comes to a sewer, you always want, again, you as a buyer, and like you discovered with the one out there in Ohio, you always want to call those municipalities and say, what are your pre-sales requirements? Because we discovered the day before closing on one out in Johnstown, that Johnstown requires the sewer be pressure tested, which I'm still unclear how you pressure test a sewer, because how do you plug it up at the street side, but whatever. You can't sell unless you get a certification from the sewer company. Of this, and if it doesn't certify, there's these things that have to happen. So you always want to also have that conversation with the municipality as well, or you want to put on the buyer in their agreement that any municipality certificates are up to them. We then absolved ourselves. But the point is, well and septic change, or well and cistern, or any of those options change. Okay. And also, I had one house that was well, but literally when it was well, like normally a well is a pipe banged into the ground, a certain distance and there's a pipe and there's a pump and whatever. Well, this was still, Little Bo Peep's well, the 3 foot round hole with a little top on the little hat on the top of it, and they just dropped a pump into it like it's 19. So it's like, okay, and that didn't change anything. But when we discovered that, I said, okay, well, this is flag to the buyer that, hey, this is what you're dealing with. That cute little stone thing over there, that's your well. And the last thing when you're dealing with wells and septics, and we went further on this, but is there land on the property to replace them? Because there are rules about wells and septics being certain distances from each other, and one has to be upstream of the other, and all that kind of crap. And the last thing I'll say on this is I was all set to buy a flip out in a little bit west of me, like 5 miles west. And we had all the land you could want. But it was house, driveway, house, creek, and then like 5 acres. So we had all the land to do whatever living crap we wanted to. But the crunchy sewer septic municipality guy, now all this thing had for wastewater was a bathtub-sized thing behind the house, and that was its entire wastewater system. And that's all there was room for. There was no space for anything else. And there was a well to the left and a well to the right and a well in front of us, and like we had nowhere else to go. And he wouldn't let us cross the stream with a pipe, even double insulated, double wrap, whatever. He's like, no. So I said, basically, you're telling me this house is going to fall down. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, no one can flip it. He's like, a homeowner buys it, I can't make them do the work. A flipper buys it, I can make them do the work. So I said, your only choice here is a homeowner has to buy this, who's willing to accept. He's like, yeah, basically. So, there's lots of rules. And I don't not understand why you don't want poop crossing a creek with feeds that might feed other wells. But right. I still think there was a more reasonable answer.
Right. Okay.
So all I'm saying is any natural solutions, questions follow.
Okay. Well, at least now I know that a well potentially has a $40,000 check attached to that. So I can see why it's a...
Wells are 7 to 10, septics are 20 to 50.
Okay. So now, would that...
What?
Would that interfere with the MAO?
Potentially, yes. And this this is where it would interfere with the MAO, because when you're doing your repair estimate, you have to say, oh, I'm expecting $61,000 to repair the house as the house structure, windows, doors, heating systems, that stuff. I then have to consider, problem A and problem B. Now, I don't come into the seller. If the seller tells me the well or septic are screwed, then I've got a different conversation. But if our poop goes away and our water comes in and everybody's happy, I'm not knocking their offer down by the prediction that there might be a problem. I am, but whether I'm the buyer or I'm telling a buyer, hey, it's well and septic, the buyer should, if they're not an idiot, make testing well and septic in these questions part of their due diligence. So they might say, hey, listen, I want, I'll give you your $60,000 on wholesale price on this house. They're ready to buy the house from us, pending testing the well and septic. They get a bad result or a result they're not comfortable with. I can't give you 60 anymore. I can give you 50. I'd give you 20. Hey, I've got to replace the whole septic system. I'm not where I was.
Okay.
So it comes down to due diligence, buyer's due diligence, which in the case of the Jersey property, none of us had dealt with well or septic before. So we kind of said, oh, it's public water and septic system, and there's a septic system. It's right there. And we didn't know there was a landmine there. Another landmine is swimming pools. First of all, partially the swimming pools, people don't want them because they're expensive and they raise your insurance and stuff. Some people love them, whatever. But this particular house had a dead swimming pool. I mean, like you could see dirt through the liner, like it was dead. And so we were of the mind, and it was hills all around it. So we're like, when we looked at the property, it was, oh, this is easy. Take the dirt from the hill, shove it in the hole, no problem. We buy the house, again, not knowing what questions to ask, and you never know all the questions. And code officer comes over and says, what do you do with the hill? I said, well, we're going to bring an excavator, push that dirt into that hole, and we're done. And he's like, no, you're not. It's my community. He's like, you're bringing certified clean fill from a certified clean fill plant. But I said, I got dirt and I got a hole. He's like, no, in order to fill in our township, in order to fill in a pool, this is what you got to do. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to build a deck over it. He's like, in our township, we don't allow that. So all of this comes down to in due diligence.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So and what we do, I mean, normally our purchases are straight to title. In a well septic situation, I will sometimes allow the buyer to say, I want the well and septic tested. Now, Ryan and I just had the situation out in Mount Pocono. We had 3 offers on the property. It was an absolutely ideal sale. We had it under contract for 115. 3 buyers came out. They all offered 130 or better. One of them told us he would go to 160. So we emotionally knew who was going to be the winner, even though we didn't want to screw the guy. One of them said, I'll give you 145. I'll give you 140, but I want a well and septic test. And so the other 2 didn't have that requirement. So he's no longer our buyer because he's simply harder. He's not wrong. He's right. But this guy doesn't care. And so the guy who told us he would go to 160, I said to Ryan, I said, we can't be, I mean, we know we can get him for 160. Like I could just say, here's the contract at 160. He would sign it. But we couldn't be unfair to him. So we said, look, we have another offer a little above yours. And he's like, well, I'll go to 160. I said a little above yours. So he's like, what do I offer? I said, I can't tell you. A little. And he's like, 135. And like, fine, done. So we pretty much, we still made, we figured this is the ideal sale. 115 to the seller, 135 from the buyer. We make 20 grand. He gets it for less than his top number. She gets her number. Everybody's happy. But one of the buyers, we kicked out of the pool because he was going to require testing. Because the other guy didn't. He's an easier sale. Highest and best is always the standard. Okay. Your guy, the guy who asks for the septic test might be 10,000 over the guy who doesn't. But you're just like, I'll take the guy who doesn't. I'll lose the 10 grand because I don't want to deal with it. It's just, the best isn't necessarily the highest.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
Well, no, that was pretty much it. In the process of that, do we have the logins for the CRM yet, or is that still?
Oh no, no. Well, actually, you should have gotten a couple emails on that, and on the last couple of calls, I've been saying to everybody, call me and let's walk it through. So let's have you and I do it like at 1:30 today. Just call me and we'll get you set up. Because I've been waiting for people, like we've been sending, and I don't know what I got to figure out, because I think we got a messaging problem, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to fix. Is like we're just not hearing back on people, but like we have those set up. Those have been there for a month and a half.
Okay, cool.
We need to get everybody. But you need to call us one-on-one, because for some reason what's being sent isn't being. Some reason only 3 of the like 15 people have actually logged in. So I know messages are going out, but not all of them. So just call me later and we'll get you set up.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, no, because I was just like, okay, once I get the CRM, I can start putting in follow-ups and being able to keep track of them instead of putting them in this stupid behind calendar that I have and making sure I follow up.
Oh yeah, no. So we'll get And basically, yeah. So I'll show you that right now. And I'll reset I'll reset you up right now so you can say, oh, I got it or I didn't, and we can talk about it from there later.
Gotcha.
But let me try to remember how to do that because my brain's somewhere else right now. But I'm glad you're reminding me of that because it's one of those things I bring up once in a while and then I forget. So we first go into homepage, and then we have settings. Oh, I hate how it overlaps down here. It's so weird. My staff. Okay. So that's Nair Creighton 18 at gmail.com.
At Gmail, absolutely, yep. And I'm on
All
my
right,
Gmail
so
right
it's
now.
just
Doing some hard to go.
It just claims it's sent anyway.
It says activate your account. Welcome to REI. Yep, got it.
All right, cool.
Click here to log in.
Yep, click the login, follow whatever it tells you. And then once you're in, we'll do a whole separate video of how to walk through that because I want to make that a separate video from this one. But yeah, I mean, basically, once you go in, and then once you're in, I'll go back and show you. So when you fill out a form, and you can also do this within the CRM, but the reason I'm teaching fill out a form rather than start it from within the CRM is simply because you can keep that form as a bookmark on your computer. You don't have to, and on your phone. You don't have to log in. You don't have to do crap. You click the link and you'll be filling out the form. So I figure operationally that may be easier for you than let's log in and blah, 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 blah. You dump stuff in first from the form and then go in, but you don't have to. You can be in the system under opportunities and you can add an opportunity and you can take it from there. So you don't have to use the form, but assuming you use the form, here's where you're at. And everything starts, the form starts as a new seller lead. You click on edit this opportunity, and here are your opportunity details. Property address, state, property this, property that, occupancy, condition, paid, internal recommendations, revenue, reason for selling, all that stuff. And then you can also open the actual you can open the whole contact of him, and then you'll have notes. Always do notes when you make a discussion. You'll have calendar stuff, appointments. You'll have documents you can upload. You'll have payment information, which isn't really critical for you right now, and you'll have associations, and you'll also have activity. So
I got it logged in now.
Okay, cool. So again, form or not for the first step. I thought form was the answer, but whatever. And then it does not do this automatically. Eventually, we might. Actually, do I even have this live? I don't even have any of this live yet. Oh crap! I did all that without that live. All right, so that was a mistake. Let me go back and redo that. Where'd go high level go? There's go high level. All right, so and Alex, I might as well just make sure you're set up as well in here. So I'm going to go into my settings and my staff. Come on, gerbils. Come on, gerbils. All right. And Alex, we'll change your personal information in a second. I don't want to do that on the open video, but what's your email address? Oh, I guess he's not here. Okay, we'll do that later. So then going back to opportunities, just so you can see it in here, we can have this on the video. When you fill out the form, form, it becomes one of these under
Right.
new seller lead. You click this name part of it, and you can fill in more information on the opportunity, answering other questions you didn't previously answer. And you also have the opportunity to do things like add tasks, check activity, add notes. Please do notes every time you have any kind of effort on this here. Put it in as a note. Even if you put it in over here, put it in over here. That way, there's always a note. I talked to the guy on Friday. I texted him. He texted me. I haven't heard back. Appointments, documents, something signed, something submitted, something offered. His pictures go in here. Stuff, uploadable stuff.
Gotcha.
You can also, within the opportunity, pop back here again. So you'll see when I click the name, it comes up to the contact. When I click the opportunity, it opens up a little bit differently. Kind of
Gotcha.
offers the same stuff, honestly. It just frames it a little differently. Now, and this is the one part I want everyone to watch out for. Still keep your notes yours, in
Mhm.
case Alex ran into something he thought he filled out the form, didn't quite get there, you did that. Because one of the distinctions within the CRM, and I'm still trying to figure this out with the developer, is like if Alex Williams is like Alex Williams is 2 different forms are filled out twice. I just want to make sure that it's supposed to be that the property A, property B, same guy, property A, property B. I just want to make sure that, until we test this enough, we want to make sure it's that you keep your own copy of it. So if it's like, hey, we think this is this, we can always double check it. And then at a manual point, when new seller lead has now gone to contacted, bing, 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 contacted, you slide it over. Follow up needed, bing, bing, bing. And these are the different steps of the pipeline. Appointment scheduled, appointment completed, seller negotiation, past about,
Okay, cool.
so we'll teach you when these move down the line, but this is how we track at what stage things are at. And you can set reminders for us, and we can set reminders for you and tasks and whatever. So this is like a lot going on inside of here. And don't feel like you have to master it. Don't feel like you have to know when to do it. But just, I'm glad we got you in here and you're able to get in and play around.
No, yeah, because I have a lot of follow-ups and anything. Like I have a follow-up for February 7th. But the guy's been keeping in touch with me and like making sure he's even reminding me, like, I didn't forget, like it's on its way. I'm just waiting. That's why I was like, let me make sure I just put him in the CRM to keep track of him.
Yep. And literally and the buyer form operates quite similarly. It just ends up in the buyer pipeline instead of the seller pipeline. So same thing. You get a buyer, he's there.
Gotcha.
So so all of that exists and it's ready. And I apologize that we haven't connected on this, but you can dive in and you're good to go. Also on batch leads, and I think you
Speaking
have
of
your
batch
own
leads,
batch
for some
leads
reason
account.
it's not letting me log in. Yeah, it's for some reason it's not letting me log in. I don't know what's going on with it.
All right. So basically what I've done is, because we have 8 batch leads logins, and I've converted, I think I left yours alone, but I converted most of the rest of them to generic. Like there's mashrepair@gmail.com, mashrepairtasks@gmail.com, and a few others. And the password is always capital T. Well, I'll text it to you because I don't want to put it on the open channel. But anyway, and that way, if you try to log in and it says another user is here, use the other one, basically. Because I figure we don't have enough people where I'm going to fill up 8 channels, but I think having one open generic channel. And let me just check wait. All right, so this is now generic. Let me just fix this one up as being generic too.
Yeah, because right now it won't let me. Like this whole call, I was trying to like do something on batch leads and like multitask with you, while I was listening, and it wouldn't let me log in for some reason. So I was like,
all right, so it always the name should be alphabet.
Because that was the one that it had me make my own password for it, but it kept the Manissa in repair, mass repair email. I just had to make my own password.
Okay. All right. All right. And I'm just going to delete. I don't know if I'll leave Connor in, but so I can add another one. So I'll add another. I'll add you a fresh one.
Okay, cool.
Mobile number. Choose your city. Permissions. We'll trim you out later. Select all. Save additional login. Hello. Oh, phone number can be blank. Find. Find. Save additional login. These are essential. Really? All right.
Yeah, it was just wild because I was like, "What? I just put some good leads in there. What do you mean I couldn't log in?"
Yeah. Now I'm going to shut the video down so I can set this up.
Got you.
Come on. Uh, Come on, gerbils. All right. So the same. I'm texting you now, actually, with what I'm going to set the password up for, because it got confused somehow. Because it's like, oh, I already have an IER, even though I removed you, it still had you. So which this that I'm texting you now is pretty much our default password. And anybody else that needs it, just message me directly. Again, I don't want to put it on the open channel. Anyway, so that pinups4@gmail.com. So I probably shouldn't have said, but use the password I sent you, and that should get you in.
So same. Because you just sent me the password, and then you say it's for pen.
Here, I'll text it to you.
Yeah. I was just saying you might want to.
Yeah. And we'll get it when I figure out at some point when I get my head above water, I'll get it back to your email. But whatever. For now, it's that one.
That's perfectly fine. Okay. Yeah, other than that. And as far as the Ohio multifamily, he said the end of the week, but
Yeah.
I might just, I don't know, like either a little later tonight or tomorrow, because technically tomorrow's the end of the week. I'll give him a call.
Yeah, I'd say reach out to him tomorrow. Again, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's still not working for some reason.
All right. Well, then in that case, try a different browser, or clear your cache and your history, because your browser might have it. And I've had this happen myself on batch leads, where it was like my browser didn't like it, and I had to like clear the data. And I finally went to a different browser. If that doesn't work, catch up with me offline, and we'll try to figure it out. Because let me just check on mine.
Okay.
Me in. Oh wait, you know what? Has it activated? Wait a minute. You know what? Has it activated me yet? All right, give it a little bit because it's still playing gerbil times here, so I might need to verify and let you do it.
Okay.
All right, yeah, it's still playing, and I don't know why it's still playing gerbil times, but it is.
Okay. Well, I'll just give it a little bit. Give it like an hour or two.
Yeah, give that a little shot, and all right, yeah. So wait, is it coming up? Okay, home address. Skip that. Let me add a profile picture. Skip that. Gosh, I've had this email address for like 10 years. It's pretending like it doesn't know who I am. Yeah, so just give that a little. Here we go. Google security alert. No. Okay, so yeah, so all right, so give it a few minutes. I'll try to close this up right now. And I'll go from there.
Okay. We'll do.
Thanks, man.
All right. All right.
Thanks. Bye.